Hello and welcome to the tutorial for my free Tunisian crochet coffee coaster pattern named Coffee and Cream. I designed this pattern with this yarn, King Cole Finesse Cotton Silk DK in the color white. And you will also need a J or 6mm crochet hook, and a regular length crochet hook works for this small project, or the hook size needed for gauge tension, which is that information is included in the description below. And you will also need a darning needle, measuring tape, and scissors for this project. So you can follow along with me, or if you would like the written instructions, you can purchase them in my Etsy shop, and the link to my shop is in the description. And it comes in both UK and US terms. I will be using US terms for this tutorial since that is what I'm used to. So follow along with me and have fun making this free Tunisian crochet coaster. To start making our coffee and cream coaster, we need to make a magic loop. So you can use whichever magic loop method you prefer, but I will show you the way that I do it. And when you form your magic loop, make sure you leave about a 5 or 6 inch long tail, because we will be using this tail end to sew up the edges of the coaster when we are done. All right, so the way I make my magic loop is I place the tail end of the yarn over my left hand like this, and then pinch it with my left pointer finger and thumb. And then I hold my left pointer finger and middle finger together but slightly apart, and then I wrap the yarn around them to the back and around, and then back up and around again, but I kind of cross it over to the left. And then I use my left ring and pinky finger to hold the yarn in place. And then I grab my hook and insert it between the two loops I just placed on my fingers. And then I grab this loop of yarn with my hook and pull it under the other loop, and then I lock it in place by yarning over and pulling through. And so now I have my magic loop. So after you close your magic loop, chain 1, and then we are going to work 9 double crochets into the magic loop. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, and now we are going to pull the tail end of the magic loop to close it up, and make sure you pull it tight enough so everything is closed up here. And at the end of the video, when I sew everything up, I'm going to show you how I like to lock my magic loop in place with this tail end of the yarn, just to ensure that my magic loop doesn't come loose. All right, so after you do the 9 double crochets in the magic loop, find that first one you made and work a slip stitch into that. Now chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we are starting row 1, the foundation row. So we need to pull up a loop in each chain across, skipping the first chain. And now we need to work a join stitch to connect the foundation row to the rest of our work. So insert your hook into the first available stitch space, which is the same stitch space we put the slip stitch into. So a join stitch, you yarn over and pull up a loop, And now we need to work a return pass to complete the foundation row. So yarn over and pull through 2 repeatedly across till you have 1 loop left on your hook. And so now we have row 1, the foundation row, completed. So for row 2, work 4 Tunisian simple stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a join stitch in the same stitch space. Insert your hook into that stitch space, yarn over and pull up a loop, and complete the row with a return pass 2. So yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across until you have 1 loop left on your hook. And rows 3 and 4 are the same as row 2, working 4 Tunisian simple stitches, and then a join stitch in the same stitch space, and a return pass by repeatedly yarning over and pulling through 2 all the way across. And so then row 4 is the same, 4 Tunisian simple stitches, join stitch in the same stitch space, and then a return pass of repeatedly yarning over and pulling through 2 all the way across. And then for the rest of the rows, so now we are on row 5, so we work the 4 Tunisian simple stitches, but now our join stitch is going to go in the next stitch space over, and then work a return pass to complete the row by yarning over and repeatedly pulling through 2 all the way across. And then my next row will also go into this stitch space. So what we are doing is working 4 rows into each of these 9 stitch spaces all the way around. And you will have a total of 36 rows. So I'm going to continue working 4 rows of 4 Tunisian simple stitches into each of these 9 stitch spaces all the way around, and I will meet you back here. Once you are done working your 4 rows of 4 Tunisian simple stitches into each of the 9 stitch spaces all the way around, then we are going to connect these 2 pieces with a slip stitch in the first row, our foundation row. So there is my stitch right here. I'm going to insert my hook through that and work a slip stitch. And then chain 1 and work a single crochet into that same stitch space and a single crochet into each stitch space all the way around. So since you had a total of 36 rows of Tunisian crochet, you will have 36 single crochets all the way around. There is my last single crochet, and then we are going to finish off the coaster by working a slip stitch into this first single crochet we made at the beginning. And then cut your yarn. Now we are going to weave in this end. So thread your yarn onto your darning needle. And I like to do a little trick here to blend in this slip knot, or slip stitch, that we made. So go into the next single crochet stitch space over. So skip one, go into the next from front to back, and then go back in to your slip stitch that you just made. And that leaves the edge looking nice. So we just kind of mimicked this single crochet V-stitch that you get on the edge. And then I'm going to weave the rest of this end into one of the back of one of my Tunisian crochet simple stitch rows. So I'm going to kind of guide my end over to a row, and then I just kind of do a figure 8 motion going in like a figure 8 all the way across behind one of the rows through these bumps. Now I'm just going over to this next bump and back in to this one I came from before, if I can get to it. There we go. And now I'm going over and then back down to the one and just repeating this figure 8 type of motion until I've weaved in about an inch or two. All right, cut my extra yarn off. So now we need to weave in this long tail end we left with our magic loop. So thread that onto your darning needle, and I'm going to show you how I like to secure my magic loop in place to ensure it doesn't come loose. So our yarn's coming out from over here, and so right now our magic loop is like a little spiral. So we want to keep going in the same direction of that spiral. So I'm going to work over a few stitches. And then we are going to go back in the other direction, but skip a stitch, of course, to lock that in place. And so now our magic loop is secure. So we should not end up with a loose hole here. All right, and so what we will be doing now is sewing these two edges together. So we want to get our needle over here to pick up our first stitch. So I'm going to actually go over through one more little stitch, and let's see, we'll go through these two loops here to get our needle over where we need it, and then I'll just pop it through to the front of my work. Now to sew the two edges together, pick up your first Tunisian simple stitch closest to your needle on the right side and pull through, and then find the one matching this one but on the left side right here. And now it looks like these lines just all flow together. And then go back over to the right and pick up the next stitch and the coordinating one on the left side. And do that with all 4 stitches. So now my edges are sewed together, and then I'm going to pop my needle through to the back of my work and secure this end by working through the bumps on the back of one of my rows. So we'll go up through these 2 bumps and doing that figure 8 motion again, going over to the next little bump and back down through the one we worked in previously, and then over one, back up through, over one, and back through. Whoops, I lost my yarn. And do that for about an inch or 2 until you feel like your tail end is secure. And then cut the remaining yarn. And so now you can finish here if you'd like, or stay tuned to add the fringe around your coaster. So now we are going to cut pieces of fringe about 5 or 6 inches long, and it doesn't have to be exact because we will be trimming the fringe when we are done. So about 6 inches long. And we are going to put 2 pieces into each single crochet stitch all around the coaster. And so I like to flip it to the wrong side of the work and grab my hook and insert it into one of the stitches. Fold the 2 strands of yarn in half so they're about even, and pull them through the stitch, and then kind of yarn over and pull the ends through, and then tighten it up. And so you will do that putting 2 strands of your 6-inch long pieces of yarn into each single crochet stitch all the way around. And then when you are done doing that, this next step you may skip if you would like. You can keep your fringe as is and trim them to the length you want. We will be trimming them down to about a 1/2 inch. So you can add your fringe and trim them now, or after you add your fringe, you can pull apart the plies on each strand. And give it sort of an undone look. Okay, and then when you go around and pull apart the plies on all of your fringe, then we're going to cut them down. You can cut them as short or keep them long if you want. But for coasters, I like them to be short, so I'm going to cut them so they're about a 1/2 inch long. And then you would do that all the way around your coaster, and then this is what you would get. And I'll just quick show you another coaster I am making with a 100% cotton yarn, and this is what it is looking like. So anyways, that is how you make the coffee and cream coaster. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and free pattern. Thank you for watching.